Joining us on the Blue Frame Technology Hoopsville Hotline to talk about the Blue Jays, it is Veronica Nolt, the head coach of their team. Coach, thanks for taking the time to join us. Great to see you.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Absolutely. By the way, love the pictures. Great backdrop. So I'm curious. You and I talked beginning of the season. You expected to have a good team, but did you expect only to be having your one loss be to Scranton, and you'd have all these wins piled up and be having the success you're actually having?
I just don't think like that, to be honest. We kind of joked about it early when I first saw you there down at that first game, but realistically, we just have to take things one at a time. And because we are so young, you have to determine how far ahead do you want to think, and you just really have to keep it one game at a time with a group as young as mine.
Yeah, you ended up winning that first game 85-43, and as I said to everybody about midway through the third quarter, that game was nip and tuck. And again, first game of the season. But you had so many players then, and you have so many players still who contribute in so many ways, whether it's the starting five, which is usually King, Reno, Boyd, Wilson, McNulty. You also have Mummert off the bench and others who come off the bench. Romanowski comes to mind from that first game. You're deep. You've got the ability to go to that bench and bring up players who can help change the pace of the game or change the look of things, or if you're in foul trouble, certainly give you a spell. How important is that depth?
Oh, it's been critical to our success. And everybody who comes in off of the bench brings something different than what maybe is currently on the floor. And they have the flexibility at a lot of different positions to bring players in with a different strength that might address a different defense or offensive issue that we're dealing with on the court. Has really been a blessing for us.
You're outscoring your opponents by 21 points per contest, while defensively, let me just double check, you're holding everybody to 54.5 points per game outside of Scranton. We'll talk about that in a minute. But is it defense that's the key to this right now? Is it offense and you're just so strong that no one can keep up?
Well, I just think it's really just a combination of we are getting better defensively. We have a ways to go there, to get to where we would like to be, certainly. Offensively, I think we do have a lot of options and weapons that are very versatile. We've got kids that can shoot the three very well. We've got post players that can finish very strong, and all those in between opportunities with mid-range pull-ups and just a lot of strengths. We're starting to pass the ball a little bit better as a group and get the offense breathing a little bit more. So I think it's a combination of both, but we're not where we want to be yet, certainly on either end.
I don't think I know any coach at this point in the season that ever says they're ever where they want them to be.
For sure.
One thing that jumps out at me, you've had 304 assists to just 273 on turnovers, so you have more assists to turnovers. But on defensive, you're forcing 348 turnovers and only allowing 222 assists. You're stifling offenses.
I think some days are better than others, right? So yeah, I'm really proud of the girls. They are working very, very hard to try and improve and just get better, being a lot of more ball pressure the whole time, just applying that pressure for that 40 minutes. And that's why I think you do see that some of the bursts you're seeing it later in the game, where we have so many kids that we can run in and out of there. That's been beneficial to us in certain situations.
It's a two-headed monster that's leading the way in Summer McNulty and Danny Ray Reno, both at 15-plus points a game. McNulty at almost 16. Reno's then pulling down 7.5 rebounds on top of that. And McNulty, while she may not be scoring, is then dishing it out. She's got 64 assists on the season, nearly about 3.5 assists per contest. And they both shoot well. Reno's shooting 58% from the floor and has never taken a three-pointer. They're decent from the free throw line, and that's not against anyone else. There's certainly others who are contributing, but those two are certainly the key, and it's a great inside-outside presence.
Well, they've really gotten a connection together. Ironically, they used to play together. We have a great photo of them when they were in 8th grade, and Danny is 6'2", and Summer at the time was probably 5'6". It's really a cute jump center photo of them. But over the time that they've gotten to play against each other in high school, now that they're playing together, they're really starting to read each other and work together very well. Again, all of our kids are contributing and they're finding each other, which is pretty neat to see.
Well, yeah, I was going to say the next three are averaging more than 7 points per contest. Siley Wilson, Jessica King, Lindsey Boyd. They're all part of that 5 starters that we mentioned, along with the other 2. They've started and played every single game. But we talk about the depth of the bench. One, two, three, four. There's 5 players who've played. No, sorry, 6 players who've played at least 16 games. And to be honest, 7, 8, 9 players who've played 10 or more games of the 19. You're playing everyone, which scores certainly help there, but it's part of that depth. And you've got everybody buying in, because sometimes those bench players have to buy into their role, right?
Absolutely. And, I'll give you a prime example here. Our captain is a graduate student who doesn't get a ton of minutes.
Yeah.
And my gosh, what a key to our team and our program that she has become, because she recognizes that other people are going to get some more opportunities than her. And she is focused and ready to go for every game and every practice, and really leading by example that this is a team effort. And, conversely, the starters are coming out and not maybe getting the minutes that they could get as well, because there's more talent on the team this year than we've had in the past. But all of the 15 kids on the roster are really just a joy, and they get so excited for each other when one of them does well. So it's pretty neat.
Obviously, building on last year's season, 20-6, finished with unfortunately 2 losses in a row, one in the conference tournament to Catholic, and then to John Carroll, who unfortunately unceremoniously asked you guys to leave the NCAA tournament. I know that wasn't the way you all wanted to finish. Is that driving this season?
Oh, absolutely. I think, for last year, realistically, we had 12 first-year players. So you don't know what you don't know. As much as you can tell someone something, what this is going to take, and, to continue to be successful in a conference as tough as the Landmark is. I think it was a little bit eye-opening when we really kind of, went to that first round of the NCAA tournament, and we were 18 and 19-year-old girls against a very seasoned group of women. I think that was a little bit of a punch in the face, and motivating to these girls in the off season to really, step it up a little bit in the weight room, certainly in their conditioning. So, I think it was a great experience, but also turned out to be a stepping stone for us as well, hopefully, moving forward.
You've beaten teams like Franklin and Marshall, but most importantly, teams like Salisbury this season, Washington and Lee, you guys beat by 12, 80-68. It's been a good season. Scranton's the only blemish. You lost to them on the 13th, 87-67. What was it about that game that didn't work the way the other games have?
That's a great question. I mean, certainly we have our own theories there that we just didn't show up in the way that we needed to show up. And that's a team with, they are older. They've got, grad students and seniors, also in the mix, whereas we don't have that. So, again, I think we were very prepared, but there's a difference between knowing something and kind of embracing it into, experience. And so now you had your experience, right? So as freshmen and really second-year players, because, our juniors, we didn't compete at all or practice really at all that COVID year. I think that's a little eye-opening. Punch in the face is good once in a while. Brings it out into you to see, can we get better? Obviously, we need to get better if we want to, make the playoffs here in the conference, and to see if we can get any opportunities beyond that.
Well, it was interesting because you were kind of in a 3-game stretch there where you had to head west to Juniata, you had to head north to Scranton, and then after that head down to DC to play Catholic. Right. And punch in the nose in the middle of that can turn the Catholic game into a fiasco potentially, and take 2 in a row. You guys got right back on the horse, got a big win there, 64-58, held their offense to below 60, and now you're on a 5-game winning streak and take advantage of the home court in the meantime. So interesting way to react. You came right out of that like, okay, whatever, and moved on.
Mm-hmm. I was really proud of them. And it was one of those days where we were heading down to Catholic. We had a couple of kids that were banged up and weren't feeling good. And I'm like, man, this could go either way, So I was really, really proud of the way we responded in that game.
You're playing 6 of the last 9 games at home. And interesting enough, you'll get the rematches here against Catholic and Scranton in reverse order. You'll actually take on Catholic at home coming up here in 2 games' time. Moravian's still ahead of you on the road. And then Scranton at home before you'll finish on a 2-game run on the road. I know you're not looking that far ahead, but how important is this stretch here to not only stay at the top of the conference, but also potentially maybe even move into the first place spot if things can go your way?
Oh, Dave, you think way too far ahead.
It's my job.
I know every game is important, in our conference. And realistically, regardless of how the standings are right now, you're finding every team is very competitive. Even as recently as last night's games, I mean, it was kind of up in the air partway through many of those games. And so, as a result, realistically, next game, one game at a time. So.
Yeah, to that point, Goucher was leading Catholic at halftime despite 17 turnovers. Catholic came out in the second half and woke up, so we'll leave it at that. Definitely a different second half in that game. You do have Moravian ahead of you, and Mary Beth Spurk is always a tough coach and program. So obviously there's that to tackle first before you then get Catholic, and then before you get Scranton, and then you have Drew, and then you have the Gophers. So you've got a bit of a stretch here still ahead. There's a lot to play for. Are you comfortable that if you can't win this conference, you guys can maybe at least march back into the NCAA tournament, or is there more pressure just to try and get something done in the conference?
I don't think that that's something that I could ever answer, because reality is we're going to just have to take care of what we can take care of. We can't project forward what someone else will decide if we can get in or not get in. It's take care of what we can take care of, and it will be as it will be after that. So really one game at a time is our focus, and not thinking about will we or will we not be able to have that experience again. So
what's it like to coach a program with such a storied history? First to 1,000 wins in Division III. You then got to 1,100 right before COVID. I know we're knocking on 1,200 somewhere. I've lost track. I know that's coming up, but a couple of national championships back in the 80s on top of that. What's it like to coach a program that to some way has such a rich history, but I think in another, not many people appreciate?
Well, I've been very blessed, really. The person who was in charge all those years of, when they were the rich history in the 80s, winning the 2 national championships in 82 and 89 and the Final Four in 83 and 84. She's coming to our games, our home games now, and the girls have gotten to know her and have a relationship with her. And it's really been a blessing. As far as people paying attention to some of the women's sports who have been successful, or the teams that have been successful in any school, sometimes it's just difficult to get them in the door, but can't worry about that. My goal really is to give my kids a great experience. We want to win games. Obviously, we're all very competitive. Everybody is, but we want to have a great experience. At the end of our time here, I want them to wish it wasn't over. So the combination of just really having an awesome group of student athletes to work with and our staff to work with, and being able to tie in, the legend Yanni Kaufman into our program, and to have her enjoy the benefits of getting to know these kids and then respecting her and knowing her and the contributions she's made to E-Town and to the NCAA women's basketball, in general, over the almost 42 years she was coaching here. It's pretty special for me. So I count my blessings for sure.
Well, you played your college days at Millersville, and certainly that's where your education is. Elizabethtown has become basically your home. You've had a long stint twice now with E-Town. What's so special about the school that keeps you there?
I just love it. I mean, the kids are great. The staff, the athletic staff that I work with, our athletic director, Chris Morgan, is awesome. Prior, Nancy Lattimore was wonderful. I'm just really blessed with the people that I get to work with and the kind of students that E-Town attracts. So, yeah, that's why.
Obviously, a lot of changes. You're now in the Landmark Conference. It's very different than where you guys have been, but you're familiar with all the schools. How has the Landmark Conference worked out from your perspective?
It's a very hard conference. I mean, every day, obviously, Scranton is always a top 10 team, if not higher this year, obviously. Catholic's always strong, Drew, Moravian. Everyone's got a good team that's competitive all the time. So, fortunately, we're located in the middle of the conference, so
Yes.
some of our traveling stints are, a little easier than some of our conference opponents. So I'm grateful for that. Also,
Yes.
No one's really asking my opinion which conference we should be in, but I think it's been good for us to be in this one as well. So.
And gets bigger next year. You'll bring in Lyco and Wilkes. Not that really changes too much in your travel schedule. You're basically Scranton's still further away than those two. But what's it going to be like to have two more foes and a little bit of a different schedule?
Yeah, it'll take some adjusting, certainly. Trying to plan out our next year's schedule has already been a little bit trickier just because of how it falls. Our conference schedule starts so much earlier, right around Thanksgiving. So it'll be tricky, but I'm sure we'll adjust and it'll be great.
Well, Veronica, I appreciate your time joining us and talking about your squad. Certainly impressive. I said that in game number 1, and it's great to see that it's still resonating now, and I look forward to seeing how it all plays out, especially the rematches coming up. As always, we give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with those who may be tuned in today?
yes, I just I'm really, really proud of my team. The girls have worked their butts off, and grateful for my staff. So, go Blue Jays.
It takes a good staff, too, to be successful. Congratulations to the Blue Jays, and we'll look forward to talking to you and talking about the squad a little bit further down the road.
Appreciate it, Dave. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Veronica Nolt joining us on the Huddle. I think I said Blue Frame earlier. Huddle Hoopsville Hotline. It's a nice alliteration now. Huddle Hoopsville Hotline. Joining us on the show. Again, they got 5 games left in the regular season. At Moravian, home against Catholic and Scranton, on the road against Drew and Goucher before they finish things up in the conference tournament. We'll see how that all plays out. But they're a good team. Keep an eye on them, especially if it comes NCAA tournament time. We'll take a